Hi, and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to improve your credit score and understanding, more importantly, what are the things that impact your score overall. Now, I want to begin by saying that none of the information you find in this tutorial is considered financial advice. And when making any financial decision, by all means, feel free to seek the advice of your financial advisor, your accountant, or your attorney. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk briefly about 5 things that affect your credit score overall. And if you want, by all means, feel free to visit this URL at the top to get better insight as to what they are. You're going to find that this information that's staring in front of you right now is going to be something that you're going to find throughout other various sites that pretty much sum up the 5 factors that affect your score overall. Now, number one reason that affects your credit score is really comes down to payment history. Payment history is a whopping 35%. Payment history is nothing more than how often do you pay your bills, and more importantly, do you pay them on time? The second most factor that impacts your score is what they call credit utilization. Now, we're going to touch on credit utilization a little bit later and more delve deeper into exactly what it is, but it is sitting here at a whopping 30%. And in a very high level, credit utilization really just examines what is your overall debt compared to what is your overall credit limit. Now, with that being said, as you delve deeper into your score, we look at the third component that affects you most, which is at a whopping 15%, and that is your credit history length. Credit history length is nothing more than how long have you had credit, how long has that account been open, whether it's a home loan, whether it is a credit card, whether it is an auto loan. At the end of the day, they're going to look at the length, and that is going to impact you 15%. Now, the two remaining components are sitting there at 10% each. 10% over here, as you can see here, is credit inquiries, and 10% is credit mix. Inquiries is nothing more than individuals tracking your credit. And then credit mix is really looking at the combination of debt that you have. Is it combination of auto loan, home loan, and credit cards, or is your debt just one of the three? So it's going to look at the overall portfolio and then weight it at 10% impact on your score. So these are the 5 factors that you're going to find out there that impact your score. As we delve deeper into this quick tutorial, we're going to walk you step by step on various ways in which you can improve your score, and more importantly, how can you handle situations when there are things on your credit report that shouldn't be there. We're going to show you all the tricks of the trade, but as we've said before, none of the information that you find here is going to be considered financial advice. So do your research. But let's go ahead and actually get started, and let's see if we can walk you through step by step so that you can actually examine your own credit history and, more importantly, improve your score overall. Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction on how to improve your credit score. Now, when we talk about your credit score, we really need to understand first, more importantly, what's the scale that actually measures what your score is. And your credit score is nothing more than a 3-digit number, that actually tells lenders out there how good are you in paying off debt. They utilize this obviously if you go to actually get a home loan, or if you go for an auto loan, a credit card, you name it. This world operates off what is your credit score. So if you're looking to actually understand what your score is, let's begin by saying that there are 3 reporting credit agencies out there: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Now, they all will offer you a free copy of your credit report. Feel free to research them on the internet and reach out to them, and they will have ways in which you can go ahead and sign up for an account online and actually gain access to a copy of your report absolutely free. When we talk about the score overall, the score averages, as you can see up here, is anywhere between 300 to the highest ranked of 850. So 850 is obviously the most ideal. It's what is considered a perfect credit score and excellent credit. Excellent credit could average anywhere between 700 and above. Some places listed, as in this case, 720 and above. You're going to find that there's going to be a slight variation as to how people measure what is considered good credit versus excellent credit. But this little actual scale right here will give you good indication. 720 and above is considered excellent. Good is anywhere in the 700s, as you can see right over here. And you start delving into the world of the 600 numbers, you're delving into fair credit. Fair credit obviously is someone who may have difficulty getting credit. Maybe they have a few late payments, nothing dramatic. You're going to fall under fair credit. Maybe you have too much debt, and in which case, or maybe you have maxed out all your credit cards. Again, those are the kinds of things that you're going to find that are ultimately going to impact your score, your 3-digit score, and teeter-totter you into the fair category. Now, obviously, it goes without saying this is the bucket that you don't want to be in, which is the bad credit. Bad credit may be a situation where you've had a bankruptcy. Now, hopefully that hasn't happened to you, but you may be in that situation. Maybe you've just gone delinquent in paying off your credit cards indefinitely, and in which case that is bad credit. Maybe if there is too much of a consistency in late payments, that could throw you into the bad credits. Now, the world of bad credit in the digit wise is anything that's 600 and under. And in this case, they even say 629 and under. Again, this is just an overall scale to give you a sense as to what are the various tiers in credit, and more importantly, give you an understanding to look at your own score. And as we've said before, by all means, feel free to reach out to these 3 credit report agencies and understand exactly what is on your credit report. So as we begin to delve deeper, we're going to talk about, again, what are the various factors that you have that impact your score, as we briefly talked about them. We're going to delve deeper into them, and more importantly, talk about techniques that you can do to actually improve your score overall. I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction into credit utilization, and more importantly, how does it impact your credit score? Now, we talked about credit utilization having an impact overall of 30%, a whopping 30% impact on your score. And credit utilization is nothing more than saying what is your total amount of debt compared to what is your total amount of credit that you have. Now, when you look at your credit cards, it's very important that you look at your overall total debt of all your credit cards, and you look at your total amount of credit limit and say to yourself, how much am I using on my actual limits? Come up with that number to give you a sense as far as what your actual utilization rate is. Now, you may be saying, okay, that's great. Once I know what my ratio is, how can I use that to actually improve my score? Now, granted, as we said before, whatever this number is, if it's 17%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, it's going to impact your overall score, and it's going to have a weight of 30% impact on what your score is. And that's a pretty hefty price to pay. So you got to make sure that that utilization is actually as low as possible. So go ahead and do that. And a way that you can go ahead and do that by improving your credit utilization is simply through 4 techniques right here. And here, as you can see the URL at the top, by all means, feel free to visit this and research it yourself. But if you see here, the number one thing that you can do to improve your utilization is paying off your debt. Now, you may be saying that's great, but I may not be in a situation to pay off my actual credit cards. What else can I do? Well, you have 2 other options here that are very feasible. Option number 2 is actually to apply for another credit card. Now, that may surprise you, but remember, when you look at credit utilization, you're basically looking at 2 components, the debt and the amount of total credit limit you have. So it goes without saying that if you get a brand new card, you're going to increase the amount of limit that you have. And thus, you're going to have a lower utilization, and that in turn is going to improve your actual score. Now, you may be saying, okay, that's great, another card. I don't really want another card. So if you don't want to pay off your credit card debt, and you don't want to actually get a brand new credit card, the third option that is very feasible is to go to one of your credit card companies and actually ask them to increase your credit limit. And that is option number 3 right over here. So by increasing a limit that you have on an existing card, it's an actual easy way for you to actually improve your overall score. Now, option number 4, they say here, is to refinance your credit. Again, that's opening another door as to what the rates are. That's something for you to consider. If you are open to that, by all means, do your research. But as we said here are definitely 3 easy techniques you can do to improve your overall credit utilization. So as we said before, credit utilization is a whopping 30% impact on your score. So you may be saying, that's great, I'm going to do that. But what is the target rate that you're hoping for when it comes to utilization? And the answer is simply the lowest you can get. The lowest amount of utilization ratio, because it basically means very low debt. So right over here, as you can see here, they gauge it. Try an average 30% debt compared to what your credit limits are. Obviously, it goes without saying that you're going to be in a better situation if you're at 20% debt to what your credit limits are. And then, of course, if you get to 10% debt compared to your limits, that obviously is the most ideal situation. So again, as we began by saying that when it comes to credit utilization, that is number 2 top reasons of things that impact your credit score. So do your homework, look at your credit cards, look at your overall debt, and work with your existing lenders to improve your limits, which in turn is an easy way to actually improve your credit score. I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome to this brief section on credit history length, and more importantly, how does it impact your actual credit score? We talked about the 5 various factors that impact your credit score, and if you notice up here, credit history length is at a whopping 15%. 15% impact on your score overall. So what is credit history length? Credit history length is nothing more than how long has that account been open. Now, whether that account is your loan, whether it's your mortgage, whether it's a credit card, at the end of the day, the longer that account has been open, believe it or not, the better it impacts your credit score. Now, granted, we're not talking about high debt. We're talking simply about the length in which that account has been open. And that's going to actually form 15% effect on your score overall. Now, with that being said, one of the tips that people often find surprising is that if you have paid off a credit card, if you have any account out there that has a 0 balance, and you're anxious to actually close that account out, don't. Believe it or not, by keeping that account open, even if it's 6 months to a year, maybe hopefully 2 years, it will actually improve your overall credit score. So think about that. If you have one of those old accounts lingering out there and you were thinking about closing it because it's at a 0 balance, let it sit there for a little bit and then make the decision later on, because your overall length does impact your score overall. So that is the first bucket, which is for individuals who actually have credit. How do you deal with a situation if you don't have any credit? Well, here are some tips and techniques that you can refer to if you're an individual who doesn't actually have any credit. And by all means, feel free to visit this URL at the top. If you look at this, it's going to highly recommend 3 various options for you. If you're an individual who does not have any credit history, or if you're an individual, more importantly, who pays off their debt every single month, and you think, oh, look at this, I'm paying off my credit card, what a wonderful thing, look at that, I'm improving my credit score, I must be in excellent credit. Well, guess what? By paying off your credit card debt every single month with a 0 balance, essentially actually hurts you than helps you. Let me say that again with a humongous exclamation point. That if you pay off your credit card debt consistently, 0 balance every single month, you will in fact hurt your credit, then improve it. Now, the reason is because you essentially are falling into the category of an individual who has no debt. And if you have no debt, you have no credit history. So with that being said, if you are someone who does pay off their credit card debts, leave a little balance of $20, $50, $100. Let it sit there for 1 or 2 months and then pay it off. Hopefully you can do that, and you will find that you'll have better credit, believe it or not, by carrying a $20 balance on your credit cards than if you had 0 balance. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have any credit card history at all, maybe you're just brand new, 18 years old, heading out into this world, never had a credit card in your life, and that's okay. There are various techniques you can do, and one of the most popular is by getting a secured card. A secured card in reality is nothing more than you actually paying, for example, $100 on a secured card. You're paying a $100 deposit in exchange for a $100 secured card. That card essentially allows you the opportunity to then use that $100 secured card because you put a $100 deposit down on it, and you can use that to build up your credit report. Believe it or not, that is an easy technique, and you'd be surprised on how many lenders out there are willing to give you a secured card. So by all means, do your research. If you are brand new, 17, 18, and you are looking to actually gain some credit history, that is an easy technique you can do. Second option you have here, as they mentioned as number one, is to become an authorized user on someone else's card. Now, that's a little bit of a tricky situation because, number one, you have to get the permission of that other individual who's going to add you to their card. But maybe you have a parent out there who's willing to go ahead, or an uncle or an aunt who's willing to go ahead and add you onto their card as an authorized user. That'll instantaneously give you actual credit history for those who do not have credit. Now, bear in mind, it goes without saying that you also have to choose wisely, because if you are looking to become an authorized user on someone's card, you need to make sure that that individual actually has good credit, because if they do not, it's not going to help you. So choose wisely and choose someone who actually has good credit if you are considering that route to build up your credit history. Other option here that they say is open up a credit builder loan. Again, it's almost similar to secured cards. By all means, do your research out there and see who's willing to give you these credit builder loans, and more importantly, what do they want in return for collateral? Do you have an existing car out there that maybe you can use as collateral on an existing loan out there that you can get, and thus in the process of getting that loan, actually build some credit history? But it goes without saying that anytime you get a loan out there, make sure that you understand the interest rates and all those little bells and whistles that go along with getting that loan. And more importantly, that you feel 110,000%. Listen to what I said, 110,000% confident that you are in fact going to actually be able to pay that loan off on the timely basis in which it's required. So understand all the little bells and whistles that go along with making a financial obligation. And as we've often said, by all means, seek the advice of your accountant and your financial advisor. Making any decision financially is always at your own risk. So understand all the various terms that go along with it. We look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome back to this brief introduction into how to improve your credit score, and more specifically, how do credit inquiries impact your score overall? As we mentioned before, by all means, feel free to visit this journal at the top. And again, none of this information is being considered financial advice, but we want to go ahead and actually refer to you this actual URL because it gives you at a very high level the weighted average that credit inquiries have on your overall score, and that is at a whopping 10%. That's how much of an impact it does have. Now, it goes without saying that every time, and I mean this, every time you have your credit checked from whether it's an auto loan or whether it's an actual home loan, or if it's a credit card, it's going to have some impact. The real question is it impacting your score overall? So how do you actually know whether an inquiry is going to actually affect you or not? Let's go ahead and look at the two various types of actual inquiries there are. When you look at credit checks, you really fall under two buckets. One is what's considered a soft check. A soft check is nothing more than, say, an existing lender out there. An existing lender looks at your credit report, and it does happen without you even really realizing they're doing this, but they'll look at your existing credit just to make sure that everything is okay as they continue to give service. This is considered a soft check. It does not affect your credit score. Now, when you talk about, I've made a decision to buy a house, I've made a decision to buy a car, I made a decision to go ahead and actually open up a brand new credit card. At the end of the day, those are the kinds of things when your credit report is checked, it's considered a hard check, something that does impact your credit score. Goes without saying that the more inquiries you have that are hard credit in such a short time frame, lower your credit score. So think about the next time you're actually thinking of buying a house and that lender says, no problem, I'll tell you how much you can be approved for. Just by all means, let's do a quick credit report check. Think about that. Because you want to make sure that before you make the decision to let any lender out there actually check your credit, that you're absolutely certain that you're going to actually, in fact, choose that lender. So if you are doing home shopping and you're finding all these mortgage lenders willing to lend you money, make sure that you actually know the actual lender that you want before you allow anyone to actually run your credit report. And make that decision ongoing throughout the course of your life to limit the amount of hard inquiries on your credit report and thus improving your overall score. So if you want a quick little list, and right up here again, you can visit the URL. It's going to give you a quick list as far as various scenarios that are soft inquiries versus hard inquiries. Hard inquiries, as we mentioned, are auto loans, student loans, mortgages, personal loan out there, or credit card. A soft inquiry, again, there falls under the category of employment background checks. If you're checking your own credit score, that's a soft inquiry. That's not going to impact you at all. Again, we talked about how your existing lenders will check your existing credit as they provide you service, and that is considered a soft inquiry. Ultimately, inquiries do, and the quantity of inquiries that you have do, in fact, appear on your credit report. So if other lenders, in fact, actually going ahead and checking your credit report, they're going to be able to see how many times did you go out there to actually get credit? How many inquiries are there? And they will actually see that on your credit report. So if you are making a decision, again, here's another quick tidbit here on information. If you are considering opening up a brand new credit card with the intent to, believe it or not, improve your credit utilization and then ultimately improve your credit score, think about the impact that's going to have. Obviously, we said that it's going to appear as a hard inquiry, which it's going to lower your score. But the positive side is it's going to increase your credit limit, which surprisingly enough improves your credit utilization score and improves your score overall. But again, some very good information on this site if you are considering the impact that credit inquiries have on your score, and more importantly, what are different techniques that you can use to actually improve your score in a very short time frame. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section. We're going to delve deeper into other areas that impact your score and techniques that you can use to improve overall. I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Now, it goes without saying that often more than not, you're going to find that there are errors in your credit report. And if you have not checked your credit report recently, by all means, feel free to do that. You can usually get a copy of your credit report absolutely free from one or all three of the credit reporting agencies out there. So let's go ahead and begin by looking at the 7 common credit report errors that you're going to find out there. Number 1 on the list, goes without saying, is the obvious, wrong identifying information. So make sure that you check, in fact, that the address is current, the phone number is current, and more importantly, that your name is spelled correctly. Make sure that you verify all the accounts listed on your actual credit report. Number 2 is a common error of closed accounts being listed as open. Now, it goes without saying that, if you are interested in actually opening brand new accounts out there, lenders are in fact going to be looking at how many open accounts do you have. So if you in fact actually closed a credit card account, make sure that you double check that the actual credit agency has updated information, and that then more importantly, that account is reflected as closed if it is in fact closed. So keep that in mind. Other thing that you say here is number 3 error is unfamiliar accounts. You definitely don't want information on your report if in fact it is not yours. So if you do find that, by all means, feel free to contest that. Number 4 is saying bad debt older than 7 years. Your credit report in reality is a storyline of 7 years max. Anything thereafter should be removed. If you find that any old information is looming, whether it's an account or whatever the case may be, whether it's a derogatory comment, by all means, feel free to submit a letter into your credit reporting agency and notifying them of the actual error and request that that actual credit report be updated. And in another section, we're going to show you exactly what is the actual letter called that agencies often refer to when needing to actually remove things from your credit report. So that's actually number 4, which is bad debt older than 7 years. Now, the 5th most common error that they says is accounts being listed twice, which obviously you definitely do not want because it's doubling your debt. Number 6, they say, is debts from an old joint account. It goes without saying that if you've had some merge information going on, make sure that they're separate if you are in fact no longer associated with that account that was jointly owned by another individual. So make sure you clean up all that information. And then, of course, number 7 that they say is the most common error that you're going to find is your payment history. And as we've often said, that payment history is a whopping 35% of an impact on your credit score. So definitely check to see that in fact that your payment history is good and that if you are flagged for any late payments, make sure that you understand if in fact that's a valid flag or if it's an error. And if it's an error, by all means, contest it. So we're going to go ahead and actually talk in the next section a little bit about, okay, you found the error. Now, how do I actually physically get it removed? So let's go ahead into the next section and delve deeper into that. Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction into different techniques you can do to improve your credit score. Now, as we often said, that when it comes to looking at your payment history has a whopping 35% impact on your overall score. So it goes without saying that you want to make sure that you make your payments on time. But if for whatever reason that you actually, for whatever fluke of a reason, do not pay your bills on time, take the opportunity to understand, most importantly, the impact it's going to have on you. Impact on your credit score, that is. It goes without saying that generally, if you are 30 days and under, if you just by chance happen to be 10 days, 20 days late, on making a payment. I'm not saying that we recommend that, but what I am saying is basically this, that sometimes you will find that when it comes to your lenders, your credit card companies do not actually physically report that as a late payment to your actual credit reporting agency. So you can have at least a little bit comfort in knowing that not all actual lenders will report that as a late payment. And feel free to reach out to your credit card company and find out and explain the situation. Make sure that it's documented. If for whatever reason you forgot to make a payment, make sure you call them up and they document that in your account so that there's a history as to why in fact you may have been 10 or 20 days late. If there's a medical situation, make sure that they understand that you are working to address the issues. It goes without saying, I want to emphasize this, and we've talked on this in other sections, but that if you are in a situation where you are finding yourself not able to keep up with your payments, it goes without saying that it's better to reach out to these lenders, negotiate with their departments, find out the appropriate department that handles these type of situations, open the lines of communication, and work with them in understanding what are your options. What are your options if you find yourself unemployed and can't pay your bills? Work with them to understand what are various programs that they have. Often more than not, these lenders actually do have payment plan structures in place that they will go ahead and work with you. They will look at your existing income, and if you happen to be unemployed, work with you to come up with a payment plan. Be diligent in reaching out to them first before it becomes a situation that you've made late payments, so that way it's not impacting your credit report. Again, none of this information is intended to be financial advice, but we do highly recommend that you reach out to them and understand what programs and options you do have. We look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome to this brief, quick tutorial on how to improve your credit score and creative techniques that you can use to go about doing that. Now, specifically, we're going to begin by saying that none of this content of this information is considered financial advice. But we are going to introduce to you what they call for a pay for delete letter. You may be saying, what the heck is that? Well, if you refer to the top of this URL, by all means, feel free to do so, and you're going to get additional information as to exactly what it means. But a pay for delete letter is nothing more than you writing a letter to a lender and basically asking them in writing to remove a negative item on your credit report in lieu of a payment. Again, listen to what that is. It's a pay for delete letter. So when would you in fact do that? If by chance, for whatever reason, you have 2 months or say 3 months of late payments, you can in fact go ahead and go to that lender knowing that you are behind on those payments and say, okay, I tell you what, if I agree to pay you XYZ number of dollars, will you then in turn actually remove the late payments from my credit report? Is this legal? Absolutely, yes, it is. And again, it never hurts in trying to do that. So if you are someone who's fallen behind in actually making payments, whether it's your car, whether it's your home, or whether it's your credit cards, consider the pay for delete letter. Consider that as an option to go ahead and play catch up and more importantly, settle the debt. Now, you may find that, in fact, maybe there is a credit card out there that you are so far behind that you're just not going to go ahead and get out from underneath yourself. Another creative technique that people do is they call up the credit card company and they say, I tell you what, there is a $5,000 balance on this credit card. What if I give you $3,000? Would you accept that $3,000 in lieu of the $5,000 and close the account? That is another creative way, again, a pay for delete concept, so to speak, just in a slightly different way in which you can actually suggest a resolution to a difficult situation you may be in. So if you've fallen behind on your credit cards, consider the pay for delete concept letter and also consider the payment in lieu of closing an account concept to actually negotiate with these lenders who are always receptive. It never hurts to ask. Hopefully this gives you two creative ways in having to address difficult situations if you found yourself in a little bit of a pickle. I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction on how to improve your credit score. We've talked a lot about things that impact your credit score. Now let's talk about something that you can do to actually secure your credit history. And that begins by actually placing a freeze on your credit score. Now, there are obviously permanent freezes that you can do if, God forbid, there's a situation where you've had an issue of identity theft. That does exist. But I would definitely not necessarily recommend that route. I would actually just say this, that they do offer options of temporary freezes that you can put on your credit score. What does that do? Essentially, when you place a temporary freeze on your credit report, you are notifying other lenders that if anyone attempts to check your credit report and actually attempts to open up an account in your name, that you are to be notified. It's a little added layer of security in just making sure that you are protected against identity theft. So if you are someone who's interested in looking at all possibilities in not only improving their credit score, but securing it, think about a temporary freeze. I will say this, that when it comes to the major players out there, whether it's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, especially with Equifax, they do have applications out there that they offer, the 3-in-1 Equifax Watch, where you can actually pay a monthly service to monitor or have them monitor and alert you on your credit report. And what they also do in these applications is have the ability for you to lock or unlock your credit report. It's another safe technique that you can use nowadays to simply lock your credit while you're not using it and unlock it when you are going to use it and actually open up a new account. So think about that. But most of all, do your research. Do your research out there and then choose the avenue that you feel most comfortable. If you are in fact considering either locking and unlocking your credit report or issuing a temporary freeze on your credit score. Hopefully this quick tutorial on added layers of security gave you better insight as to some various options, and I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, and welcome to this brief introduction into debt consolidation. Now, I want to begin by saying that none of the information found in this quick tutorial is considered financial advice, but often more than not, if you find yourself in a pickle, you may actually be considering third-party companies out there who promise, if anything, to eliminate the debt and the stress that goes along with carrying that debt. And they obviously will go ahead and consider you if you have a high dollar amount of debt. And in return, they will consolidate that debt and you will actually in turn pay them instead of paying your actual lenders. Now, again, all these third party companies do operate differently, so do your research. But if you are considering debt consolidation and you are considering a supposed debt management company out there, do your homework. And right up here at the URL is a good URL for you to visit and actually do some research on making sure, if anything, that you are not scammed when going to these actual third-party companies. It may be nice and enticing to eliminate all the stress that you have from your debt, but bear in mind that when they charge you, they're going to want to charge you at a hefty price. So make sure you do your research and understand all the little bells and whistles as far as what kind of fees are they going to add on if they assume the debt on your behalf and if you in turn have to pay them. How much more debt are you going to incur by utilizing their services? And how long is that debt going to sit there? So understand all the various bells and whistles, refer to the internet, refer to your accountant, refer to your financial advisor and your attorney when considering debt consolidation and, more importantly, hiring a third-party company to do just that. I look forward to seeing you into the next section. Hi, I wanted to actually end this video by saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time to take this quick tutorial, and hopefully we gave you all little bells and whistles of techniques that you can use in understanding your credit score, but more importantly, various ways in which you can improve upon it. But again, as we started saying in the beginning of this video, none of the information in this quick tutorial was considered financial advice, and it goes without saying, do your homework. Seek the advice of your accountant, your financial advisor, and your attorney when making any decision that impacts you financially. I look forward to seeing you into the next video.